Okay, so I put it in the comments. I put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Turn off commenting. No, that's not right. Hi. We're starting a little bit early because of me.
This is Courtney's first time, so be gentle, everybody.
Guys, I'm driving. Okay, so then I touch that. And I pin it.
You did it. There it is.
I pinned a comment. Ha! It's there. Hi. Guys, I'm driving. Nothing could go wrong.
She's got the talent.
I feel like you need to be louder. Are you louder? There.
Okay.
How's that, guys? Can you hear my beautiful pink-haired friend? I love you too. Love Blossom 92. Hi. Hi, Shelby. Where's my mom? My mom's always on. So we have our today is checking your voter status. So that's our pinned note. So I'll refer to that in the pinned note section. And the title is in. Do I have the title in?
Do you have the title in? I think you do.
I put the title in.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't see it.
Yeah, don't worry about it right now.
Okay. And then
it's more for the people just signing on.
okay. And then I just have to wait for. Oh wait, there's someone in the. If it says if there's a little red one, does that mean Phil's already here?
It means that somebody wants to join us. It doesn't mean that it's Phil.
Oh, so if I push it, could it be some rando?
No, I mean if you push it, you'll see who it is, and
Oh, okay.
you know.
Okay.
Yeah. No, don't worry about it.
I'm pretty sure it has.
You're not going to let anybody in accidentally. Don't worry.
Okay. I mean, not that.
Not that we don't want to chat with you. We
I
just
know.
want to make sure that Phil gets on here. That's
Okay. Yeah, because in 1 minute we'll officially start our show, but I made him start early because I was nervous because I suck technologically.
You're doing great.
Thanks,
this looks
guys.
exactly like the way I do it. Just
I know, it does. It only took me like a half an hour of
prettier
prep.
and less queer.
Is it? Is it? Said your favorite lesbian gym teacher? I got cast as a grumpy lesbian gym teacher, and he's been cast as a grumpy something or other. So it's fine. We're playing
See, I thought Pat Brady played the grumpy lesbian gym teacher.
like no one else, guys. Like no one else.
Nobody else.
Yes. So it's 2:00. So we're gonna start our show. We've switched things
All
up a
right,
little
let's
bit.
do the thing.
JP is letting me drive. So if you're just joining us, hello. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Ivy. Hi, everyone. This is Between Two Nerds. We're on the IG Live for, of course, our pet project, which is NerdsVote. Thank you for joining us. This is your Between Two Nerds is your source for voter registration, news, and information with a healthy dose of chatting with your favorite notable nerds. I'm Courtenay Taylor.
And I'm JP Karliak.
And this is Between Two Nerds.
Between Two Nerds.
Hi. So our little action item for today is to check your voting status, because you know what? Things go wrong. Sometimes you get purged from the polls. Sometimes your thing didn't go through. So, and your thing meaning your application or your request to get an application or whatever. So make sure that you check your voting status at bit.ly.
Did you never know if you moved, sometimes it gets screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of municipalities purge their voting rolls every once in a while just to, get rid of the dead people and everything. So you just want to make sure that you weren't accidentally removed.
That's right. That's right. So today we have that, and also just because there's also a lot of deadlines too for applying for things. So I want you guys to really make sure we'll put some stuff in the chat. Today is the last day if you live in New York to apply for an absentee ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important. So if you are in New York, if you are in Texas, it was yesterday, so I hope you got on that. Hi, Julie Nathanson.
I know, right? I just saw her.
Guys, we have like an all-star cast today. We have a super duper all-star cast today because our special guest is
Phil LaMarr.
Phil LaMarr. You know him from Justice League, Green Lantern, Jon Stewart, not that Jon Stewart, but the Green Lantern one. Samurai Jack title role, and not Hermes, but Hermes Conrad in Futurama, also from Mad TV. A bunch of other stuff. He's done a few things this one. So I'm going to press the button and see if he comes on. Let's find out. I'm pressing it. Can she do it? No. Yes. Yes!
Am I there?
You're here! I'm low, but you're here. Hold on.
Wait, you're there, but JP's not.
Yes, he is. He's in my iPad. That's where we
That's
keep
true,
him.
because I can't literally be between you. That wouldn't be safe.
Well, right. We're planning for people to be between us soon, but not too soon. So it's kind of below two nerds, but then that got 86 by this one because I thought it was hilarious, but
it just feels weird.
Dirty mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Dirty mind. So hi, how are you?
Hey.
It's good to see you.
That's why I can't hear you.
Because you
There we
muted
go.
us?
Huh?
Because you muted
No,
us?
the volume was low, but now I think it's correct.
Excellent. See,
Because I got to hear those dulcet tones of Courtenay.
There we go.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, look at that.
Indeed.
JP lowered his voice once I said that.
I know. He's jealous. He's a little jealous.
Going down to the boss baby level, JP?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know either. How about that? So hi, how are you? How's everything treating you these days?
I'm fine. Oh, that's what's happening. This thing is slipping.
This is great. This is the perfect one for me to have tried to do the technological stuff.
Right? Oh, it's not you. It's me.
I know. It's great.
It's not you. And Courtney and I have had this conversation many times. It's not you. It's me.
It is. Yeah. It's not me. It's you.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Yeah.
Always.
It's not me. It's Ben and Jerry's. I just can't help it.
That's right.
Well, thank God for these tight camera angles, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what's going on with you, babe? How's this crazy quarantine? Are you safely at home? It looks like you could be in a Parisian bus stop.
No, just in my booth.
Just some beautiful wood paneling and some attractive lighting.
Yeah, well, that's true. Oh yes. Sure. Where's my ring light? Where's my ring light?
Yeah.
No, I am slowly going insane, but actually probably a little more slowly than most people. I'm an only child, so this is actually fine for me. I'm not structured to see other people, so.
You've been practicing for a long time for this. I am not an only child, but I am also like, oh, I was born to do this. I'm like an introverted extrovert. So like every once in a while I'm like, and then I'm like everything off. Yeah.
Interesting.
Just power down, and it's fantastic, and I love it. So
wow, I want to see a scan.
I've just been I haven't been making cocktails anymore. I have been making cupcakes and just different desserts and stuff, just eating a lot.
So same calories, but less brain damage.
Yes. Okay. And equal amounts of sugar.
Right.
Equal amounts of sugar. And it seems kind of like we might be stuck around for a while longer in our houses.
Well, it depends on your tolerance for, figuring out how things work. I think some people are like, you know what? I want to get out of here and then spend a month in bed.
Yeah.
With ice cream.
Because that's the thing, if you're, hooked up to a respirator, at least then you got something to do.
Yeah. I'd rather just stay home and, as Julie pointed out, make loquat jam. I'm now like in full Laura Ingalls Wilder mode. So right. I'm canning. I'm living my best pioneer woman life at the moment.
I've always thought of you as a very pioneer woman.
It's like punk rock pioneer. I'm into it. Been listening to some amazing like queercore punk rock playlists, and yeah, making some low-cut jam I've been harvesting from the neighbors with permission.
Nah, baby.
So yeah.
Ain't Pilgrims had boots like those. I ain't seen those heels on Goody Watkins or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I can. It turns out I can shibby up like a mandarin orange tree in 4-inch heels, and it works out fine.
Wow.
It's good because it's got the little hooks in between the heel. It allows you to just, it's like you're a PG&E worker, or I don't know what they call it here. It's not PG&E, but I don't know.
There's another job that I frequently attach you to is a telephone climber.
Right.
So what have you been doing during all of this then? You can't have just been living your entirely best life. Are you doing anything interesting? Have you found yourself turning to something that you haven't done before?
Are you eating anything good? Because that's where my mind goes.
Nope. Eating the exact same cycle of 6 things every week. What else? I mean, got the kids are both home. They were doing school, and actually things got really bad once school ended, because having to make sure they were awake to log on was the only thing that gave any structure to my day. So now it's just like, what day, what time, ow, why is that light on? Oh, that's the sun. I guess it's daytime.
Well, is that you or your kids talking at this point?
Oh, that's me.
They've
got their phones. They're fine.
See, I'm a little concerned because apparently my nephew's been sleeping until like 3:30, and I have now turned into that adult where before, I was like, yeah, why wouldn't you? If you have nothing to do, why wouldn't you sleep all day? And now I'm like, I don't know what you should be doing, but you should be doing something productive with your summer.
Yeah, see, it's one of those weird things, like
for full-time parenting. I mean, I haven't signed up for any of it.
But... I haven't either. I'm just adjacent. But yeah, have you had to do any math? How old are your kids?
My daughter's 15. My son is 19. He was supposed to be away at college, and then got sucked back in. But yeah, no, it's this weird thing of like, when you try to like get your kids up in the morning, being in this sort of pandemic lockdown really calls into question all of the stuff we thought normal. Like, why get up in the morning? Is there actually a reason?
Time is just a construct that we've all agreed upon. And there is no issue with making cupcakes at 11 o'clock at night, because what is tomorrow?
Why does the Zoom meeting have to be at 9 a.m.? Why not do it at 9 p.m. when we're all drunk?
Yes, that is a theme that's been going on with the Zoom meetings. And are you hanging out? Are you doing any like kind of Zoom contact with people, or are you just like, you know what, I don't need to see any of you people until this thing is?
Yeah, no, I've been doing some Zoom calls. I find them very difficult. Something like this, like 1 or 2 people, is fantastic because you have an excuse to reach out to people you haven't talked to in forever. But once you get past 4, then it's bad improv. Hey, oh wait, no, wait, you go. Okay,
yeah. We have a little group, JP and I, and about 6 or 7 other people, but it really ends up feeling like there's 27 people on the call, and everyone's just trying to throw in like a one-liner, and there's people commenting in the chat and yelling, and after a while you just kind of go.
Part of that has to do with the numbers. Part of that has to do with that we're all voice actors. So
yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, do you ever like get side conversations going in the chat? Yeah, everybody's talking. I'm really just talking to you.
Yeah, they're hilarious, aren't they? Ha ha ha. Except for I found out that and not because of anything, but I before I even Zoomed for the first time, I knew that like somehow that the side chats get published, or you're like the person who starts the Zoom call can see the chats. So if it were a work situation where you were like, my boss is an asshole, they're like, oh, am I? And you're like, on collecting unemployment.
Right. Wow. Okay.
So
Good
just so you
stuff.
know, guys, little tip for you, aside from checking your voting status today, don't do side chats in the Zoom call because they're public somehow.
Wow.
Yeah.
The undercover boss fascist side of Zoom. Good to know.
Shocker. So are you doing anything to is it just you're just a ship going through, nothing has changed? Or are you exercising? Are you anything different? How are you staying safe? We're in 3 months and change at this point.
Yeah.
You even look the same. There's no massive amount of hair growth or beardage or anything. You look great.
Yeah.
Well,
pristine.
that's the great thing. Self-cut. So
There we go.
I've saved $40 already. So really, the pandemic is a net plus for me because I've given myself.
You are making money on this pandemic.
Exactly, and I'm not even in the administration.
There it is,
guys. Let's get this started.
JP, what's that on the wall behind you?
Welcome to a voter registration
it's Auntie May.
Show. With that in mind, what do you have a special voting memory, something like the first time you can remember, or just a memorable voting moment that comes to mind?
Well, I mean, I remember my first election, and basically looking at Clinton won, Bush won as sort of red tie, blue tie. These guys are basically, because it was basically centrist Democrat versus centrist Republican. And the difference between the two was marginal. This guy says nice things about gays, and this guy says nothing. I'm going to go with that guy, because it really did look like, in terms of policy, there wasn't really a lot of difference, and it was really just what they were going to use the power of the bully pulpit for. I was like, oh, this guy will at least say things, that he's in favor of things I agree with. Whether he'll actually, do anything about it.
And also he plays the sax. So, yeah, that tipped it over for me.
See, that would be cultural appropriation. I'm kidding. White people are allowed to play whatever instrument they want.
Not very well, but yeah. Okay.
Hello,
I always
Penny
liked
G.
him just because he was in the Animaniacs opening title, so sure.
Oh, you're so young.
Cool.
Becky Johnson.
So, go ahead.
No, I just saw somebody in the chat that I given a thumbs up.
What's up, dorks? Would that be?
No, Becky Johnson gave us a thumb up.
Oh, that's nice. Hi. So when you are, and obviously there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment, and some of it's new to some and some of it is not new to some. When you do go to the polls, is there what are you thinking about when you're voting for a particular candidate? Obviously, we're talking a little bit about how marginally different some of the candidates are. Is there a particular group or person, or what are you thinking about when you're casting your ballot?
Well, it's funny because, I always joke with my friends that American politics have basically become professional wrestling at this point. Actually, it's worse than that, because with professional wrestling, whoever's the champ, you kind of root for. But this is worse. This is NFL. We're all Eagles fans. So it's your team no matter what. It's like, wait a minute. Your cornerback just speared the other guy in that side with his helmet. It's like, so? Hey, that's not okay. He didn't call it. Okay. So we've completely ejected principle in terms of our side, right or wrong. Mostly wrong. To me, it's about principles, And one of the problems with short attention span and this country not really valuing education anymore. Does anybody remember those old, newsreels where like, America is behind the Soviet Union in math. So, they pour money into math. When was the last time you heard anybody in America complain because they were behind another country in something educational? Not in the last 20 years.
We deny that that's even possible.
Right.
Like, no, of course not. Lies. Fake news.
Right. Oh, God. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking at, the preponderance of issues long term, and it's weird because, I always say that, as members of democracy, we have a responsibility to exercise our right to vote. But like any exercise, you got to stretch first. And the stretching is reading about the issues. There are people voting against their own interest because they're just reading the headline, not the article.
Yeah.
So,
just the tweet, not
and to me,
Too long,
democracy. What's that?
Too long, didn't read. TLDR.
Right. To me, democracy is about compromise. You cannot be a fundamentalist. You cannot be a purist in a democracy because mathematically, it just doesn't work. All right, let's take everybody and on average, what benefits the most people? Odds are there's always going to be something that slightly doesn't benefit you. But does most of it benefit you? Or do you agree with the majority of it? This is about majority, not if there is one thing that I disagree with, I'm out.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with the, single issue voters is that they're just looking for that one thing and they're not looking at it as a holistic problem to be solved as a whole, I think too, it's about, will this person get to it? Because I know when Obama was in office, people were like, hey, he said he was going to, go, gay rights and sorry. And I was like, give him a minute. He's got to get to healthcare because healthcare is for everybody, and like, you kind of have to say, is this person going to look at the whole issue and serve the most people? Or is it going to be a special interest thing? Or is it going to be something that takes time? And I think, I personally was a fan of that administration because I did feel like there was a kind of a list of like, hey, let's start at the top with what affects most people, what benefits most people, and then we'll just kind of go through it. So that's what I'm also looking for when I'm reading up about people is are they someone who seems like they have a measured kind of plan of attack of how this is going to go down on a timeline, not just, and also somebody who's flexible, who is going to, because I think we don't even know the amount of compromise that has to happen. Right. When people are like, I can't believe they signed off on that. And it's like, well, there are no absolutes in this. And you and I know from some of the work that we've done together that compromise is
well,
part of the game.
Right. Because it's a long game. If we're lucky. If we're really unlucky, because that's, and that's what scares me is that so many people on the left and the right are looking at the short game. I want my thing right now. It's like, what about all the other things 20 years down the line, And the idea, I remember having a talk with somebody, we were discussing Democratic candidates, and the idea of incremental progress was just made him mad. It was like, well, but how is you're just going to make that happen? It's like, well, once he's elected, there'll be a revolution. Like, how? Like that is not how democracy works. It's like, well, at least it didn't. But yeah, it's fascinating. And I get it. Nobody wants to do homework.
No. And nobody wants to wait. and it's so much easier to just demand things than to actually sit down and be like, okay, how are we going to actually get this done? And also, what's our part in it too? We talk so much on the show about accountability, with your representatives, is like, I love the idea of like, set your alarm on your phone every 3 months and be like, hey, you know what? I voted for this person for governor. How's he or she doing? I'm just going to give him a score.
Right.
We have Gavin Newsom as our governor here in California. And, he's a Bay Area local like myself. And I, like him for certain things. And there are other things that I'm like, Gav, babe, we got to talk. Let's, and it's important that they know that they have eyes on them, because, accountability is the second half. It's not just counting, dropping your vote in and being like, bye, see you in 2 or 4 years. It's, we'll keep talking.
Well, actually, that's funny, because accountability is really important. And honestly, my biggest issue is trying to get the pieces in place to get rid of Citizens United. That, to me, was the worst governmental move since maybe the 3/5 compromise. And it's coming close to completely undermining democracy. We're not there yet. We still have a chance, but barely. I mean, because I have a friend who's running for office, and she's not even elected yet, but she has to spend hours and hours every day making calls to fundraise. And every politician has to do that, because our system is so jacked up that it's all about money. I mean, you're talking about a constituent who is upset. It's like, and in the old days, that was something that mattered. Now it's like, well, is there a labor union that's upset? Because that's going to cost you money. And if the other guy that you're running against has more money than you, and you lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a matter of, you either have to have such an amazing grassroots thing that has started years and years and years before. So interesting to read about how campaigns do that, where they literally will plant people in certain states and certain cities years before, 6 years before a planned election, in order to get that going on. My mom is saying yes, and Citizens United. She's very
right.
She's definitely down with you, Phil. We've got, yes, a lot of people are. Danny hate.danny says you should also focus on voting for the Senate and the Congress. It's more important. And it's interesting. I did have a conversation with a congressman who said, like, you really don't keep looking at the shiny thing. Don't get distracted. It's not just about, who's president, because obviously, we have checks and balances, and depending on who is checking and balancing,
Right.
It can, when it works correctly, it works.
Right. But Danny, you're absolutely right. But it's also state Congress, thankfully we still have courts that can balance out when states get, out of hand, like North Carolina. It's like, let's just erase all of these voters, or just gerrymander it so that it's like, wait a minute, why is our voting district in the ocean? Yeah, no, it's good. You're good. It's fine.
Yeah. It's Atlantis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You guys get your own rep. This goldfish.
You're
Neptune.
Aquaman, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Nice.
We have to represent those people.
Nice. Fishes are people too.
Fishes love to vote because they stay in school.
Nice.
Amazing.
The king of improv, guys.
Phil, out of the characters you played some amazing characters who have had very specific moral compasses. everyone from Green Lantern to Samurai Jack to Hermes, you know, in his own way. Like, do you think that any one of them would make a good politician?
Oh, that's interesting. Actually, I feel like most of the characters I've played, the ones that would make the best politicians, are usually the villains. Because you can't hit stuff in an election, but it is possible to have a long plan that you have put in motion. You know, like you were talking about, Courtney.
Good politician. I should have said like positively effective.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
Although my son, like apparently the majority of teenagers in America right now, is binging The Office.
Oh, they're not the only ones. I mean, I'm from Scranton, so I'm biased, but my partner watches it. Every time he finishes binging it, he just goes back and watches it again. It's on all the time in our house.
And well, it's weird because I mean, there are people who weren't, you know, watching it when it was on, so it's not nostalgia. He just loves it, and I watch it as he's watching it, and I've realized the character of Jim is a supervillain. If you think about it, Jim has all of these elaborate plots.
Yeah.
You know, if he was like, you know, it's like once I embarrass Dwight, then he's basically an unambitious supervillain. Like if all the Joker wanted to do was pants Batman, he would be Jim.
Right. So like a supervillain on like a Disney Junior or Nick Jr. show.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did we lose you, Courtney?
No. I'm freaking out because I just need to plug in my phone. Hang on 1 second.
Oh no.
This could be bad, guys.
All good.
Oh, well, I know.
Talk amongst
Oh
yourselves.
my God.
Exactly. Well, it's funny because that's
life.
I have mine up on a.
This was a
What'd you say,
question
JP?
that we were thinking about before the show. If in the world of Futurama,
Yes.
if they improved upon voting in some way, what would it be from our present day?
Well.
Oh, well, since everybody already has a chip, because in Futurama, everybody has a career chip that tells you what your job's going to be.
Oh, okay.
You can just Bluetooth your vote. You know?
Just think.
Oh,
Let me drive. Sorry.
oh, I lost you for a second.
Oh, we got it. We
It's
survived.
fine. It's fine.
Oh, that's funny. Somebody in the chat said Ollie Williams from Family Guy would be the best politician. I want your vote.
Mr. Hawkins, you've got a lot of different possibilities.
Yeah.
Also have Vanessa Mark.
The
Ollie's
weatherman?
Like, he's got the same intensity as Bernie.
But even shorter. Like,
Yeah. Less patience. Just
right. Exactly.
if
Our
there's
policy is short.
instant fixes and like everything has to happen right now. I think that's Ollie.
You know what? He might be the candidate who could win, because everything is a soundbite, literally.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Hey, we know that.
He's dumb.
He could have done. I mean, Vine is dead. Lord may she rest. But if he could do entire campaign stump speeches on Vine.
That's so funny. Vine.
Vine.
I know, right? That's nostalgia.
Did you see Vanessa Marshall sending
I
you?
did.
Great love. We've got an all-star chat room happening here, and
Very cool.
Oh,
much
yeah.
love to the weatherman. Would be perfect
Mm-hmm.
as a politician.
Second black president.
Somebody says Aku. I mean, I think Aku was a politician, like as a multi-generational dictator, you know.
Right. Yeah. I don't think Aku would bother with elections.
No. no.
Well, then no, maybe not him then.
You want to vote? I have a vote for you. Although I did not voice.
By the way, if anybody out there has a question for Phil specifically, there's in the bottom of the Instagram, there's like a little question box. Put questions in there, and we will ask some questions.
Yeah. When is Justice League Unlimited getting rebooted? We don't know stuff like that. They don't let actors know that. Just so you know.
We're the last people to know.
Like literally, yeah. Like the trailer drops and people start coming on your Twitter feed to congratulate you. That's when you know.
I know. I always tell people that like, asking an actor about why a show gets picked up or doesn't get picked up or whatever is like asking the salesman at the car dealership, why doesn't it get better mileage? Like, I don't know, man.
It's like asking the guy who washes the car before you drive it off the lot. That's really what it is about any of this stuff. How come the ending sucked? Why did it get canceled?
Yeah.
Don't you want to work? Yes. Yes,
Well,
I
it's
do.
funny because I don't know if you guys got this when you first came to show business from wherever that was. Did you ever have any relatives who would give you advice? You should get on one of those shows.
You need to be on a sitcom. Why don't you go get on a sitcom?
You should get on that Friends.
Yeah.
Really?
No, my family was always like, sure, whatever, great, whatever. I'm like, I actually quit waitressing. Like, it's a thing. My mom was always really very supportive about it, but it took her like, and she's on this, so I'm going to get in trouble, but she took her quite a while to get what I was doing. And now she is ruthless about dropping like video game titles at Home Depot so she can get people to carry her stuff out for her. So she'll be like, oh, my daughter's in, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, let me just, take that up to your car. Here's a little discount. And now she's like, hey, it's working out for me. All right. I'm like, I'm glad you got it. Now she knows that it's Ada Wong and Jack, not Jack Wong and Ada.
My favorite family advice show business story is Matt King's. His mother, came to visit him and he had a stack of auditions that he had. It's like, oh, look at all these auditions I got, Mom. He's like, so well, why don't you finish those before you go on to something else? Get those done. She's like, get all those jobs before you start any new auditions.
Right. Why are you trying to look for new jobs when you should just get those ones?
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
She's
so
right.
hard to explain. She's right.
Yep. Just have to work a little harder, guys. Uh-huh.
Exactly.
And someone wants to know why Futurama ended. Thanks, Danny.
Wow. That is so far above my pay grade. My hunch is they canceled it the first time because they could. Because the thing you got to understand.
Just wanted to.
No. The thing you got to understand is this was Fox in we started in 99, so 2003, 2004. The Simpsons had been on since the 80s. None of those executives could even give notes to The Simpsons. Matt Groening was untouchable. But then he had this new show that wasn't The Simpsons. And it was basically like, a straggler on the pack. It's like, let's eat that one.
Yeah.
Let's
flex on that one.
The Simpsons, which is insane. Why would you not get the slot right after? And they had this, I remember they had this things like, it's Fox, where prime time begins at 8. Our show was on at 7.
Where prime time begins at 8, and Futurama's in there somewhere.
Up against 60 Minutes. Go watch it with your grandma.
I mean, it was a brightly colored show, and sometimes that's all Grandma really wanted.
So It's Rectime Media wants to know your thoughts on the gun episode of Static Shock. They still get chills.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. You guys were probably, no, you weren't. You were probably in the in-between phase. You weren't, young enough to watch it every Saturday morning, but you also were probably living your life and going out and. So the two of you didn't watch Static Shock.
My mom is on this, Phil.
I was a little too old for it.
Oh, Courtenay.
Not that there's a too old, but you know what I mean.
My mom is on this chat thing. She is watching, and I don't have sex. Still haven't. Thank you. Go on.
Courtenay, she knows. She's seen your shoe closet. She knows.
It's hereditary. Believe me, I got it from her.
But no, Static was a really great show because it had representation. It was very grounded in terms of the storytelling, but not in a hyper-conscious way. It was all in the service of the characters in the story. And it wasn't like, here's a very special episode. Every episode was about something that mattered, I mean, they touched on, there was one kid who was homeless and nobody at the school knew, along with the bullying. And we touched on, this is in 2000, 99 to 2003. And, we touched on, all sorts of issues. And the gun episode was a really, really great one. And sadly, it was before it was, as timely as those things seem now. But it was a fact of life. And the writers did such an amazing job with that show. You can watch it. The action is great. The characters are real, but it also says something,
That set the tone for, it's nice because now those animated shows are really touching on a lot of that stuff now. So, that's a wonderful precursor for it because I think now, it's really a big point of conversation that shows are representative of many different kinds of relationships and families. And that's one of the amazing things now about being able to work in the industry is that people really can say, this is what I'm putting forward. And in ways where it was so, when we were kids watching Bugs Bunny and stuff like that, where it was in there, but it wasn't, you were missing it if you were a kid. It was, so it's nice we've come so far in that.
Well, that's actually the upside of the fragmentation of audiences. I mean, the downside is you can't buy a house on a national commercial anymore. But the upside is because, in the old days, every show was trying to get everybody to watch it. So the vast majority of the storylines, the characters were aimed at the broadest possible. It's like, okay, what are most people? Most people are white. What are most, it's like, so everything was trying to, appeal as broadly as possible and don't offend anybody. But now that audiences are smaller, you don't have 30 million people watching. It's like, Walking Dead had almost 6 million people watch that episode. But you can tell more specific stories, something that is more relatable to a smaller group.
And that can be accessible to people later on. It's not just stuck in that moment. And if you miss it, you can go back and find Static Shock and look at those things, look at those episodes, and also be able to, now you're like, I can't keep up with everything. Well, the beautiful thing is you can put it in your queue and just start, get to it, hopefully at some point. But that selection and the being able to save those things and buy them, for really everything from acting lessons to writing, how to format a really great show, how writers have dealt with all of these subjects and kind of see the timeline of it. So it's both a blessing and a curse. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
I
actually
think one of the great things about some larger properties, the ones that come to mind are like Steven Universe or the new She-Ra, Princess of the Power, is they have the name recognition and the identifiability that pulls a broader audience in, but yet they still manage to show a lot of diverse storylines and tackle some serious issues that, you know, a network show wouldn't touch because it's not meant for a broad audience in theory. But because people have found their way into this, even though it's not a show that necessarily they would think would be aimed at them, it ends up touching them anyway. I mean, like, oh, I didn't think about that, or oh, these are people. I'm seeing people. You know, I think of like, you know, little kids in dinky little towns who have never met a gay person in their entire lives, seeing the representation of that on She-Ra and having to have that conversation with their parents, be like, tell me more about this.
Or that's me, or, you know, that's you, and so much more possibility and acceptance coming from that at such a much younger age. It's, I mean, to imagine as a kid, like even when I was a kid, like single parenting and stuff like that was kind of like, you know, to see that, to be so specific now that you're like, yes, these are my two moms. These are, you know, this is my version of a family. This is the family that I have at home. It's amazing. And it's happening. It's changing so quickly. I mean, even just in commercials that we can't buy a house on. But now so many different, you know, people and couples and things. Whereas like 5 years ago, people were like, what? Not on my cereal box, you know? It's been really amazing to kind of track that.
Well, it's funny because what's happened is it's shown that a lot of the ideas that they're working off were wrong, you know, because that idea was like, well, if you want to appeal to the broadest, you know, audience, you have to be as milquetoast and middle of the road as possible, which has never been true. Like All in the Family was incredibly specific.
Yeah.
You know, and edgy, and, you know, but the thing was, it was done so well that people responded to it, you know, and we've, as storytellers and performers, you always know that the specific becomes the universal when it's done well, you know, whereas I'm just going to play a regular guy is unwatchable. Like nobody wants to watch that. But when you know, you pull a character from some part of yourself that, you know, is deeply rooted in something, it resonates, you know? And now we're seeing that more and more. And especially because you have executives who are not standing in the way. There have always been artists who were specific, you know, and who wanted to tell the stories about, you know, with representation, you know, all sorts of points of views, but they were never given, you know, an outlet before, you know? And now we...
And you think of movies like Wonder Woman or Black Panther, and they are very successful, and then executives think, oh, we're ready for this now. It's like, no, you've always been ready. It's just that you never handed the reins over to a woman or to a person of color to direct a superhero movie that was good and then get a great audience reaction. This could have happened years ago. It's just like, this is the moment you decided to actually do it.
And that those storylines that actually work are capable of being... It's the thing you're talking about is that sort of kernel is it's a human condition, whether it's a Black person's human condition, a white person, an Asian person, a gay person, whatever it is. We recognize the internal stories and struggles, and they may be dressed in various ways, but to discount that and say that somebody wouldn't be able to, that you would get so caught up in the trappings of it that you wouldn't be able to get to the kernel is, I think, you know, it's an issue in media and is hopefully changing, but that your audience is way smarter and way more capable and more interested in, you know, I remember coming here, you know, with like red and black hair when I showed up and like a pierced nose and stuff, and managers and it's being like, which show am I going to put you on? Like, looking like that. And then, you know, what is it? NCIS happened.
Right.
And now every show has like some, chick with tattoos or, piercings and stuff. And like,
who's a forensic psychologist.
Right. But that's true because now, and that was true that there are forensic psychologists who do have sleeve tattoos, but it was just, no one was willing to say, oh, they exist.
Well, actually, a buddy of mine told me that one of the reasons that sort of thing happens is a network executive's job is not to make TV shows. A network executive's job is to not get fired. So the way you don't get fired is you never make a decision that seems edgy. Wait, why did you put a tattoo? Like, nobody ever got fired for making the captain's wife a pretty blonde woman. Ever. It's like, well, no, of course, that makes sense.
Well, and it's also the thing that you can't point to that as if that show got canceled. You can't point to that and go, oh, it's because the wife was a pretty blonde lady. If it's something can stick out, then that's the thing that you're going to go, well, that was the problem.
Well, you can point to that, but you won't. It's like we were talking about with Black Panther and Wonder Woman. When the movie with the badass female lead doesn't make, $2 billion, why? Is it because the budget of special effects was? No, it's because women. Because woman. Now, when the movie with the man, when the movie with the man who's the badass guy, doesn't make $200 million, well, we didn't spend enough on special effects. Let's hire that same director and that same guy and give them more money this time.
That'll do it.
But your biases decide what you blame it on.
I think that's interesting too. The things that I find tiresome in other kinds of movies, like I'm probably going to get flattened for this, but so I watch superhero movies and I'm always like, oh, so many special effects. Let's get to like story and actual relationships with people and stuff like that. So I'm always of the mind of like, can we have less special effects? And like, I'm sorry to my friends who work in special effects because you're doing a great job, but like a little balance, right? And it was so interesting because my two favorite superhero movies are Black Panther and Wonder Woman. And Black Panther for a million things, just because it checked all the boxes, but in ways I had not seen before, from, wardrobe and costumes to special effects stuff to locations and everything. It was so refreshing, right? And then for Wonder Woman, I was like, there are special effects here and there's a long fighting scene, but I'm not like checking out because for once I can put myself in. So I was like, is this why men love? Because they're like, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. And I've always been like, that's not me, that's a dude. But once it was a woman, I was like, oh, yeah, and it was like, I'm in for that stuff. Like, you actually capture a bigger audience. It's like when they say women don't game and stuff like that. You capture a bigger audience when you show more types of representation and people can actually relate.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'm sorry if I go too far down the rabbit hole, but
there's no too far. We love too far.
No, but oh shoot! Now I forgot what I was going to say. Well, anyway.
The rabbit hole. Wonder Woman representation, stepping into people's shoes when you're
point of view
fighting scenes.
That's what it was. It was point of view, because what you were talking about, like you saw that character from your point of view, because you guys are much younger than I am. But I came. But when I came out here when, like, I was doing mostly television to start. Black leads were a rarity, like we were still fighting to make sure if there was an ensemble cast, there was one of us, and I remember, the unspoken thing was everything was being created from a middle-aged white guy point of view, because that's who was making all the decisions. And so there would be questions like, wait. Why is the doctor black? like there had to be a specific reason. Or if it was, if his, financial advisor was Chinese, like, okay, guys, people are going to be confused. Is he investing in yen? People would literally say stuff like that. Or my favorite was if you had a supporting character of color, they couldn't have a relationship. Yeah. Because if they had a relationship, it had to be with someone of the same color. And then once they have a scene together, if somebody walks through the room and sees that scene, they're going to think it's a show about those people and will tune out. That was literally the mentality.
Yeah.
It's come a long freaking way.
Right.
And there's still much more to do.
But like you have a sitcom where instead of it being, hopefully there's one person of color in there. Now there's a whole bunch, but they're all the friends to the one white person who's the lead.
It's like
every white person has a United Colors of Benetton cast behind them being like, go white person, go. I hope you succeed. It's like, what?
Well, sorry, JP.
I don't think so.
Sorry, JP. That's
I would love to just see, a show that is where the lead is just a person of color, and the people that are their friends are, just like it's not so curated, because it feels so curated in a way
deliberate.
Right.
That it's just like, just represent reality. I mean, it's the same thing when like Disney does like whatever. I'm not working with Disney right now, but when they do those, like, they just drop in the one little queer character, they drop in the one little thing that's on screen for just 2 seconds, and we're like, we did it, everybody. It's like, that's not real life. That's not how that works. That's yeah.
But the beauty of it now is that, another fine point of all this media stuff is that you can actually start putting your own stories forward, which has been amazing. I was just watching an interview with Keke Palmer, and she was saying, get your stuff out there, stop asking for permission. And I think it's not only, obviously she was directing that to people of color, but I think there is a really wonderful thing now of like, stop saying that you can't, stop waiting for permission, stop censoring yourself, because if you have a story to tell, she was saying, I want a story of 2 Black girls who aren't like too much this way or that way. Like, they don't have to be tropes. I just want a thing, and it's going to be my story. And if nobody's going to write it, then I'm going to write it. So,
Yeah. No, and it's funny because, like I said, I guess up until the internet, there were gates, It's funny because I came up through the groundlings, and it's still going strong, but it's hilarious because you see people who are taking classes now, and they can take their sketches that they're writing, just in a sketch class, shoot them on their phones and post them for an audience. When I was coming up, you had a bunch of sketches that you paid money and wrote, but if you wanted to show them to anybody, you had to get 10 of your friends together, go rent a theater down on Santa Monica Boulevard.
At the 1 a.m. slot, and beg your friends.
And pass out flyers to casting directors, hoping they'll send an assistant. And that cost a hell of a lot more than shooting it on your phone.
Or you have to beg, borrow, and steal to get like 10 grand so you can get a bunch of friends together with the one guy who has a camera who went to film school to try to film it, and then send it to people.
And then wait for his friend who's an editor to actually get around to editing it.
Exactly.
Which would be like 6 months later.
You could pass around a CD-ROM.
Exactly.
Right. A CD-ROM.
Guys, we have 90 seconds remaining, so I just need to let you know, because we're running out of time.
Oh, well, then we got to say hi to Becky and Vanessa.
His favorite character of Phil's, because he needs to sign off the show as that character. So quick, really fast, type in your favorite Phil LaMarr character.
Who else would I have to say?
Quickly. So, Phil, I don't know if you can do this just off the top of your head, but get some characters ready in your head. Okay.
All right. In the meantime,
I hope you've practiced and
on sites, actor clown.
take a moment
What are people?
to get
Let's see.
centered.
We got Jack. We got 2 for Jack.
Static.
Green Lantern, UPS guy.
UPS guy.
Dealer's
From Mad
choice.
TV.
Pick your favorite character and sign off the show as of just encourage everybody to vote.
Oh, okay.
In 30 seconds or less.
Whoa, okay, that's not a lot of time. Hey, what's up, guys? Remember, you gotta vote, but only when